Hi everyone, uh, I am Majhaul Islam. Today I'm going to present our work on coding practices and recommendation of Spring Security for enterprise applications. This is a work of collaboration between Virginia Tech and Oracle Labs. Spring Framework has been dominant in Java enterprise application for quite a while now. This is a survey from 2020 asking Java developers which framework and technology they are using for their main project. Around 86% of them replied Spring. As the scale and complexity of this Java enterprise application is increasing, a natural question arises. How can we secure this Java enterprise application? Of course, the de facto and the most easy way to secure this application is to use Spring Security. And I will give a few reasons why. Spring Security provides default protection against common exploits, and it also provides reusable authentication and authorization modules. Lastly, and most importantly, Spring Security enables seamless integration with the existing Java enterprise application. However, we ask one important question. Can improperly configuring Spring Security make the enterprise application insecure or vulnerable to attacks? Before discussing about improper configurations of Spring Security and its consequences, let's take a step backwards and see some previous work on how insecure code and vulnerabilities gets its way into Java enterprise application. As it has been shown in previous research work, library API misuses is one of the major causes of vulnerable code, such as misusing application level SSL or TLS and cryptographic APIs. Uh, the huge number of misleading advices on Stack Overflow also plays a key role, as well as poor API designs and lack of proper guidelines and documentation. In this work, we are going to focus on a different thing. We are going to focus on how misconfiguring security framework can cause insecure or vulnerable code. In this work, we are going to focus on only Spring Security, as I have previously mentioned, is one of the most popular security framework in the industry. So we asked the following research question. What are the common security anti-patterns and insecure defaults in enterprise level Spring Security application? To answer this question, we performed a measurement-based study on 28 Spring-based Java enterprise application found on GitHub. We have found 6 types of security anti-patterns and 4 types of insecure defaults. So in total, 10 misconfigurations. We also analyze the frequency and the severity of the security threat this misconfiguration poses. So we started by collecting source code of Java enterprise application hosted on GitHub. While doing so, we applied 3 filtering criteria. The first was the number of times the project has been forked. This gives an indication, the higher number of forks gives an indication that the projects we are selecting are actually adopted by other developers in their own code base. Second filtering criteria was the number of times the project has been started by other developers, which ensures that the projects we are curating is popular among other developers. And we also taken into consideration the originality of the project. So we filtered out any duplicate or clone project. After applying this filtering criteria, we are able to collect 28 Java enterprise applications. And after further analyzing, we found that 20 of them are demo projects and 8 of them are real world projects. We also surveyed the literature, and from 7 reliable sources and exhaustive searching on these 7 sources, we created a comprehensive list of insecure defaults in the literature, and we compare the presence of this insecure configuration on the 28 projects we have collected. So right now I am going to talk about the 10 misconfigurations we have found after applying the methodology. Right. Firstly, I will talk about the 6 security anti-patterns, and then I will follow up with 4 insecure defaults. So, firstly, we have noticed that the developers tend to set the validity of the access token lifelong. Access token gives a way for users to authenticate themselves easily. Each access token has a validity period. It should be from 15 minutes to 2 hours. But however, we have seen, as shown on listing 1, that developers tend to use lifelong valid access tokens. Here we can see in the code snippet that one developer has set the validity of the access token of 10 days. This is problematic because lifelong valid access token is vulnerable to reply attacks, and setting the validity arbitrarily long increases the chances of the valid access token being leaked. The next security anti-pattern is related to OAuth 2, which is an authorization framework. In the authorization framework, there is a redirect URL, and the predictable structure of the redirect URL makes it vulnerable to cross-site request forgery attack, named shortly CSRF. To prevent the CSRF attacks, OAuth 2 documentation mandates using a randomly generated state parameter. However, we have found that the developers tend not to use this state parameter. As a result, the predictable structure of the redirect URL makes it vulnerable to CSRF attacks. We have also seen that the developers tend to sign the JSON web tokens using hard-coded simple secret keys. As we can see that here the developer has signed the JWT using a simple hard-coded secret key. JWT token is one type of access token, and again, using a hard-coded secret key to sign JWT token is a problematic because hard-coded JWT keys are vulnerable to brute force attack. Also, if one of the valid JWT key tokens get leaked, then to invalidate that JWT key, the developer has to go back to the source code of the Java application and change the JWT sign key manually. This will cause another problem, which is all other valid JWT access token which has not been leaked will also be invalidated. One nice thing about Spring Security is that it provides CSRF protection by default, so you don't have to enable the CSRF protection by yourself. However, the way CSRF protection works is inherently different from other front-end framework. So whenever developers integrate their backend Spring code with front-end application or front-end framework, they usually encounter an error. The proper way, which has been mentioned in the Spring Security documentation, to handle this error is to make the HTTP flag only as false. However, we have found that instead of doing this, developers tend to manually turn off the CSRF protection. As a result, the application becomes vulnerable to CSRF attacks. We have also found that the developers store hard-coded passwords in plain text in the configuration file, as it can be seen in the listing 3. The root password of the database is placed in text file. The application.yml is a configuration file, and application specific secrets should not be in the configuration file. Also, we have found traces of not using TLS, not using TLS or HTTPS. As a result, the application becomes vulnerable to man-in-the-middle attack. Now I'll talk about the 4 insecure defaults we have found. The most recommended way, the first one is related to bcrypt, which is a password encoder, and the most recommended way to encode password in Spring Security. SpeedCrypt is intentionally a slow hashing algorithm, and this slowness adds to the security to prevent brute force attack. However, we have found that the default strength of BitCrypt password encoder is not slow enough to prevent brute force attack. As we have done our own experiments, as you can see in the figure, the default default strength of Spring Security, which is 10, is not nowhere close enough to the minimum time the BitCrypt should take to verify one hash value. We have also found that the Spring Security uses weak hashing algorithm like MD5 to encode Remember Me cookie. MD5 is already a broken hashing algorithm, and there are online software tools to construct collision and modular differential attacks against MD5 hashing algorithm. We have also, unlike other security framework like Django, Spring Security does not provide a way to set proper throttling policy per user. As a result, attacker can acquire a valid API key and generate a massive number of requests. As a result, the resource is as a result of this massive number of requests, the resource will become unavailable to others user. Also, we have found that Spring Security does not provide content security policy by default. Content security policy header helps the developer to enforce a fine-grained security policy to prevent code injection attacks such as cross-site scripting, clickjacking, data injection. However, Spring Security does not provide that by default, and developers don't usually tend not to use that. Now I'll talk about the severity of the misconfiguration we have found. To measure the severity of the 10 misconfiguration we have found, we use common vulnerability scoring system. In this regard, we consider two criteria from the literature, the attack difficulty and the attack gain. And based on these attack vector present on the literature, we assign 10 misconfiguration as high, having high security severity, and 2 of them medium and 2 of them low. The detail of this detail can be found in the paper. We also cross-check the security misuse instance across the real-world projects and the demo projects. And the most interesting part is that although the misuse count ratio is higher in demo projects, the nature of the misuse causes are vastly overlapped. And it would be interesting to see whether how much developers are being influenced by these demo code bases from where they usually directly copy the source code. Now I will present some interesting case study. In one of the cases, we have found a comment that in front of an insecure practice means that this is not a secure practice. For simplicity, we are storing a static key here. And also in one of the cases, we have found that the developers downgraded the BitCrypt password, the default strength of BitCrypt password encoder from 10 to 8 for high performance. We also make correspondence with the developer to understand their side. In one cases, one developer responded to us saying that their code is just for simple demonstration, and they are not considering complex attack scenario such as cross-site request forgery attacks. We also communicated with the Spring Security developer and let them know that the default about the findings we have found. One of the pull requests we have created was accepted and now merged into the master branch of Spring Security. And one of the pull requests we have created, the Spring community and the developers of Spring community say that they need to be passive, and they will consider changing their code according to our recommendation in future Spring releases. So the key takeaway is that misconfiguration in Spring Security can cause critical vulnerabilities in enterprise application. In this regard, we have found 10 10 misconfigurations. 6 of them are related to security anti-patterns, and 4 of them are insecure default behaviors of in-speech security. Our analysis shows that the security anti-patterns are prevalent and similar across the real world and the demo application, and these misconfigurations hence pose a realistic threat. So I will thank everyone for listening to my presentation. And if you have any questions or feel want to know more about our research, this research, please, please, please ask some questions. Thank you so much.